Hi folks, welcome to WRA 210, Introduction to Web Authoring. This is not the way we had planned to have our first class meeting, of course. We have a bit of a snowy, cold situation out there, and the university has canceled most of the day, but they decided to leave the schedule intact after 5 p.m. and guess when our class starts? 5 p.m. We are in section 1 of WRA 210, and my name is Bill Hart Davidson. So I'll be your instructor this semester, and most of the time you'll see me in person. However, today I'm going to try to stay warm at my place. I hope you're trying to stay warm at your place. What we're going to do with this quick video, and there will be one more to follow, is kind of give you the introduction that we would normally do in the first part of class, and get us started on learning the basics of how the internet works, especially how web servers work, and how you can start to do some web authoring of your own. I'm going to switch right now to this slideshow, and I'll talk through just a little bit of information, and then this video will come to an end, and we'll move to the next one, which really gets us started with a little activity that I had planned for you. So one of the things that we're going to do is demystify a little bit about the way the web works. That's kind of what the first couple of weeks are for in the class, and one of the clues to that is right here in something I want you to see about the class URL. So this is the class webpage, www.msu.edu. There's a little tilde. The tilde, depending on your keyboard, is usually to the very left of your number row. And HartDav2 is my MSU Net ID. You can see that in my email address. So if you need to get a hold of me, you're going to send email to this address. You'll notice that it's right up here too. What that means is that MSU has acting as our web host, and they've given me as a faculty member and you as students some default web space where you can store information and use to create your personal homepage. And we're going to do that for the first part of the course. You'll have options later on if you want to move that anywhere you like. You can move it to a different web host, but for now it's free and it's easy to get to. If you plugged your net ID here with the tilde and changed it, you would be able to access your web space. Now odds are, unless you've already done some development, you haven't done anything in that space yet, but that will change. The other thing you see here is a slash after my name, and that is WA, Web Authoring. HartDav2/WA is where all of the information for this course lives. So if you go to this URL, you'll see our course homepage. So I'm going to show you what that looks like now. I'm going to escape out of here, go to the browser, and you'll see this nice frosty blue color scheme. Believe it or not, it wasn't inspired by the cold, but it's fitting. And this is a basic website where you're going to see all of the information that we'll have that you'll need for the course. Instead of using Angel or D2L, because this is a course in web authoring, I try to make sure that all the information that you need for the course is out here on the open web. So you can see this URL is the same as the one that I just showed you up here. And every time you come here, you'll see up-to-date information. So what you have here so far is some information about what's going on in the class, and I'll give you a little tour. So in the top bar, you'll see a little menu with the syllabus and schedule. We'll get to those in a second. In this left-hand corner is always going to be information that we'll use that day. So all the files that you might need, or information, or helpful videos in this case, are going to be posted here. Everything that you need for today, except the video I'm recording right now, is linked up here. For obvious reasons, that will be linked later. The slides that I was just reading from are linked, however, they're available here. A sample project page, which we're going to look at in a second, is here, and some information about how to get to that AFS space I was telling you about. That's your university provided web space, is up here. And then information about what we're going to do on Thursday, what you're going to work towards and get as far as you can, really, to complete on Thursday. And that's the subject of the next video, so I'll talk about that in a second too. There will also be information as we work through what is needed for that day. I'll move that stuff over into the recently column. In the recently column, I have the syllabus linked again. I have our link to our course book, which is something that you'll want to go out and order. It's called How to Design and Write Web Pages Today. It's by a press called Greenwood Press. It's a really nice book. This is the companion site, and this is how to go and find the book. You do not need the book until a couple of weeks go by, and it's much cheaper to order it online, so I've just linked it here. I'm not exactly against the bookstore, don't let it be said. However, I am in favor of you saving some money. So go find the book and order it, and make sure you have it by the start of week 3. The other thing that we have is a sample class page. I'll show you that in a second too. It really is the same file that is linked over here, except you'll see some differences if you were to click these 2 links. I'll talk about those too in just a minute. Alright, so let's switch back now to the PowerPoint, and I'll talk through some of the basic information about the course. In addition to contacting me by email, if you're on Twitter, here's my Twitter handle. You can follow me there and hail me there if you need to send me a message. You can also follow the class hashtag. Whenever I post a tweet or a link, a resource or something like that that I think is useful for web authoring, I'll use the WRA210 hashtag. Alright, so we've done some of this stuff already. Welcome to the course. For next time, buy the Stolly book or order it. You'll also want to go out and find yourself a good HTML or CSS reference. Now, I don't specify a particular one, because what I really would like you to do is go to the bookstore, and here you can go to any bookstore, popular bookstore is fine. Look through the HTML and CSS reference volumes that you see there and find one that you can understand. This will vary depending on your experience and your technical expertise, and also just your patience with, reading a thick, more or less reference book. The important thing is to buy one that you will use, because you will need it. You'll have a lot of questions, and I have 20-ish, 23 of you or so to walk through this process each time we do something new. And so what will happen is you'll have a lot of little questions to ask that are really nicely covered in reference books, but you'll have to wait a long time for me to get around to everybody answering them. So learn to use that reference book and you'll be happy. So go get one you like. Doesn't matter which one, but the key is one that you can use. Then the next thing that you'll want to do, this is a question in everybody's mind by Thursday, is work on Module 1. And I will talk a little bit more about Module 1 in the end of this video here. Alright, so what's the course about? Let's ask that question. Many of you know from the title what the course basics are. It's called Introduction to Web Authoring. And here are the course goals. You're going to learn basic principles and skills and technologies for web authoring. And what we mean by that is making websites, but we also mean making the content that people actually want to view on websites. So we're not only focused on the technology stuff, we're focusing on creating effective content that's usable, accessible, and sustainable. To gain fluency in analyzing and producing common web-based genres, we're going to again give you some practice time to do that, and we want you to feel like you are you're used to doing that. Even if you're not going to work on a web team, you may find yourself in a position one day when you are directing one, or you work at a company where you have to produce information that's eventually going to make it to the web. And when you do that, it's always useful to know just what kind of information users expect. So that's what we're going to spend some time learning. You're going to gain a lot of technical fluency in analyzing and producing what we call standards compliant XHTML and CSS. What this means is that it won't break any browsers, and It will meet federal guidelines, for example. There are some for accessibility for people who are accessing the web with various disabilities. Um, there are some minimal guidelines that you have to meet, and you'll learn all about those. You're also going to acquire some best practices of higher order skills for creating whole websites, like how to arrange information in a structure that is usable and useful. We call that information architecture. You'll build a basis of expertise for fostering web authoring excellence in your coworkers and clients. This is a surprising thing that a lot of our students find, is that once they move out of their entry-level positions, they quickly find themselves heading up web teams. And so you are suddenly in the position of making sure that the team does really good work. To do that, you have to evaluate, and sometimes you have to help develop these same skills that you're going to be learning in your coworkers. And so you'll learn a little bit about how to do that. And of course, as always, in all of our professional writing and experience architecture courses, courses that are taken for the major, we want you to engage in reflective practice. We want you to take on some of these skills and to think about how you will use them in your professional career. All right. Now here's some good news. The web isn't exactly, and web authoring as we're going to learn it, isn't exactly the hardest thing. In fact, most people find the stuff that we're going to work on pretty easy to learn. It does take some practice though. So for example, it's not this hard, but it is about this hard. And you see, I've spent a lot of my time doing pretty silly things. If you put some hours of practice in, you can learn the basics pretty well. You don't have to freak out. And if you get a little nervous later on in the semester, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, come back to these videos. I'll leave them on the class website. The other thing that I want to specify about that, of course, it's fun to post pictures of people juggling. I mean, these are boring instructional videos otherwise, but the other thing that there's actually some relevance to is that web authoring is the kind of thing that you can't learn just from reading about it in a book or even from watching a video about web authoring. You have to practice. So it is a lot like juggling in that way. You can read a book about juggling all day long and never learn how to do it. You have to do it, and you have to practice. You have to drop a few balls, and you'll be making some mistakes. They won't be catastrophic mistakes, but they'll be the kind of mistakes you want to learn from. So the main thing that you need to do well in this course is the ability to try and try and try again, to kind of pay attention, learn how to troubleshoot, and you'll be fine. Let me go back to the PowerPoint now and finish this up. We'll look at the syllabus. I will ask you to look at that more carefully after you get done with the video. Here you'll see I've repeated the goals, the textbook that we want you to buy that I've already talked about, and some policies and procedures like attending class, that sort of thing, turning projects in. The projects in the course are really pretty straightforward. There are just 3 main areas of work that you'll be doing. You'll be doing these modules, which are fairly short, out-of-class exercises designed to get you to practice the things that we're learning in class. Completing the module gets you the credit. You do all of those modules, you get all the credit. So those are places for you to take some chances and make some mistakes and learn from them and not get penalized too much for that. Getting them done is the key thing. So don't fall behind. If you fall too far behind, what you'll find is that they stop being terribly useful because they build on one another. It's a little like math class in that way. So put in your practice, put in your lessons, and you'll do great. The other 2 projects are really best understood by looking at the schedule, and I've made a visual version of the schedule here to show you kind of what we'll be doing. You can see in the middle row there the modules go all the way through. So we'll be introducing those. starting next time, starting Thursday, you'll start Module 1, and you'll be working on modules all the way through the end of the semester. You'll also create a personal project page starting this. If you get through it, you might actually get through it yet today if you are adventurous, but we'll certainly have you all up and running with a very basic project page by the end of the day Thursday. The personal project page for the course is where you post all the information. It's how you turn your projects in web authoring. And that too, you'll be posting it once, you'll be updating it, making some changes to it, and then throughout February, after about Valentine's Day or so, that'll be on autopilot. You'll just be adding additional things to it, but you won't have to work too hard on that specifically. And then finally, you'll be doing the major project. This project is your web portfolio. We'll actually take a web design approach from scratch all the way to finished full site that you can demo to your friends and family. And it will be a first version of your online portfolio where you can store work about yourself. We'll be working on that throughout February, March, and April all the way to the end of the class, and then we'll conclude with presentations where you'll do kind of a dry run and walk us through your design choices, how you created your portfolio, and where you want to take it next as you develop it further. In general, to do well in the class, here's all you have to do. Just do the work. Those people who struggle in the course are really the people who let the schedule fall too far behind. And this is one of those classes where you don't have to study very hard per se. What I mean by that is this isn't information that you have to remember and then get tested on. But what you do have to do is put the hours in practicing. Remember those juggling videos. You just can't learn it any other way. So don't let yourself get behind the 8 ball, because trying to catch up and cram hours and hours of practice and trial and error and mistakes into a 20-hour marathon work session is no fun. If you plan for 2 hours or so outside of class for each hour in class, you'll do yourself a big favor and you'll progress quite nicely. All right? I think that's about it. In the next video, we're going to talk about posting your project page. So join me for that, and I'll see you on Thursday.